Hey, my darlings. Thanks for coming and being here and behind the scenes, Shadowlands. I want to talk a bit about the dark night of the soul, the existential, can't even say it, the existential crisis that seems to be programmed into our lives, whether we like it or not, as part of this false matrix we're all experiencing at the moment. And the world is going through an existential crisis. Many gurus, spiritual teachers out there are going through an existential crisis. And the world is going through a dark night of the soul, let's face it. And this sounds like so profound, so deep, yet it's something everyone does experience on some level. Back in the day, it would be called, midlife crisis or something like this. But I think lots and lots of people of all ages are going through dark night of the soul, and the earth is definitely going through it. Yet we have all those woo-woo things out there saying, spread the love, spread the light. Yeah, we do need to do that, but we're all feeling it. Now, if you're a sensitive, an empath, you have extrasensory abilities, which all of humanity have, by the way. It's not, for just the chosen ones. Everyone has it. And if you're getting drawn in by being a chosen one, be very careful. I had an experience years ago where I was in my early 30s, I think, late 20s, early 30s, where I went to these groups and I was offered a meditation practice. And so I went, yeah, why not? I was still kind of experimenting with some things, outside my own knowledge base and experience that I'd already had. And I have to say that this person took me through this most amazing meditative experience where I very quickly um, went into a past life. I saw colors that I'd never seen before, not on this world. So I knew something was going on. Then I landed in this past life where I was being dragged through the streets with others in all of these poplar plants. So I thought it was France or something like this, and was then burned as a witch. Not surprisingly, I think many of us have probably had that experience, the burning one, that is. And I came out of this meditation quite disorientated because the practitioner was not really very masterful in bringing someone back into the here and now. So I had an out of body experience for quite a few days, not useful as I was a mother at the time. Well, I still am a mother, but I mean, at that time, I was a mother of young children and needed to be able to function in the here and now. Why am I telling you this? Ah, here we are. This person then started contacting me, wanting me to join a group who felt that they were the reincarnated apostles of Jesus. And they felt that I was Joan of Arc. And I'm like, I could feel it in my very being that actually I was not Joan of Arc. Although over my lifetime I have been um, said that I have that kind of archetype. Which is so boring, really, because I don't want to be Joan of Arc. I certainly don't at the moment, you know, be that warrior. Now, even then, back then, I could tell that I was not Joan of Arc. I might have that kind of essence within me, a truth teller, a spiritual warrior, and all of that. I'm saying this because it's good to look at your own shadow. A lot of people will be saying to you, ah, you were the late Cleopatra, or you were the son of Ra, or whatever it is. And maybe you were, but maybe you weren't. But actually, in these fields of experience that we are in, these worlds within worlds, these multidimensional worlds, we can access so much information beyond what you would even realize. It doesn't mean that if you have a past life regression or something and you have this experience of being something, someone famous, doesn't mean that you actually were. It means that you may have aspects of that person. Now, why I'm saying this is because part of our shadow is the ego. And I don't believe we need to get rid of the ego. I feel that's a dark agenda that's perpetuated through different spiritual groups, religions, and it's really a political agenda. If you get rid of your ego, your balanced ego, then you get rid of your mind and your propensity to be discerning for yourself what's right for yourself. And I know there's all sorts of other things that will tell you what's right, body knowing, your soul, etc. But putting those aside, the ego is a part of who we are. It's a part of our the construction, for want of a better word, of our soul. It's an aspect of who we are. But if you are told that you're this certain person or you have been this certain person, it can be so misleading and it can be so misguiding, because that is the ego, the inflated ego speaking. Or it may be the weakened ego speaking, who wants to gain some confidence. You're easily going to be influenced by people if you don't keep your ego there. Balanced, knowing that it's there, being able still to channel the higher self, your higher self, not something outside of you. It's really important not to allow these leaders to tell you who you are. There can be guidance, there can be suggestions. When I'm with clients, if I see something, I tell them if it feels right for them, then that's great. If it doesn't, we move along, because they're with me to discover their own selves and to empower themselves and to be their own teacher, their own guru, to channel in their soul, to embody the soul ultimately, not to follow everything that I say. Because why? I have an ego. I get things wrong. If I didn't, I would live a perfected life. Okay? There are aspects of the self that are dark. We are all of it, you see. And it's the choices that we make that determine who we choose to be in this world, without having to be anti this or anti that or fight anything. It's the realization that within in the shadow is that deflated part of our ego, that inflated part of our ego, and to bring ourselves back into balance. Because if that doesn't happen, you can be swung in different ways by different people. Who you are here and now is important. The reason I bring in other lives for people is not so they can relive them, it's so they can reclaim those aspects of the soul, return to oversoul. Why? Because otherwise we're going to be recycled into the same shit as we've been living now. And we're coming to a culmination and a completion of this. And we have a choice. So, existential crisis is what's happening. When the dark night of the soul arrives, it is so heavy for all of us. That's why it's called a dark night of the soul. Because yes, the dark night, if it's really night, you'll see all the stars, but they're so beyond us, aren't they? That's why we look at them and want to reach up there and pull them down or join them. I know I do. The dark tunnel that you go through in the dark night of the soul is a gift, although it may not feel like it at the time, because it's a gift of showing you all those different aspects of yourself that you've been denying. It's a gift of raising the shadow to be seen. And part of that shadow is held within the identity, the open identity. And we don't want to let go of that because it crumbles. So my most recent dark night of the soul, because I've had more than one, unfortunately, I have had these rites of passage and initiations. It makes me feel better to call them that rather than mental breakdowns, throughout my life. They are initiations. Initiations force you to look at what the shadow is, look at where the false identity is, and the identity starts to crumble. Now, my most recent caused my identity to absolutely collapse. Absolutely. To the point of having panic attacks, to the point of losing who I felt I am, the essence of who I am. And there were leads ups to that, and I will talk about those leads up at another point. When you're having an identity crisis, that's what happens. It's because the identity has held you for so long, it's worked for you for so long, but it can't do that anymore. It's becoming obsolete, or it's expanding beyond. So it's part of the identity, but it's not the identity. And despite what anyone will say, we all need to feel we have identity. Otherwise, we lose ourselves. And this is what is happening. So, there's all of these lands, these countries holding on to identity, causing conflicts because of identity. When actually the true identity is soul embodied in this human experience and human soul embodied is the identity. The problem is we don't know what that is, right? Because that's been covered over. It's been hidden in the collective shadows for so long that we've all been told, as I said, if you're following a spiritual or religious path, lose your identity. Follow the leader. The leader will bring in the God force for you because you can't. Well, actually, you can because you are already a child of the universe. And it's important, as far as possible, to allow yourself to move through this in the gentlest way possible and make some choices within it, even though in that dark space where your identities are crumbling, it is hard to make choice. If you can't make choice, don't know what to do nothing and allow yourself to travel through it. There are people like myself who can shift some things, make it clearer, make it less of a crisis, help come into attuning to who your true soul essence is. But that doesn't mean you're going to escape the existential crisis, the dark night of the soul. In fact, the more you try and escape it, the worse it can be. Now, many teachers are going to tell you, the spiritual gurus, the spiritual teachers, that they have all the answers to this. That if you go through them, you're going to come out the other side and you're going to be totally healed, this whole person. Well, unfortunately, that's not the truth. That's part of the misleading information that's out there. I want to say it is the truth, you know, that we get healed. You know, what I would say is that we no longer are wounded, we are scarred. And the scarred can become that very beautiful Japanese art of, I can't remember what they call it, but there's a Japanese art where they put together the broken pottery with the golden paint, and it becomes something even more beautiful. It's a wounding. Is not helpful. That sounds like it's still a painful place to be. The scar is healed, but it's still there. And it's to recognize that this is part of the lies. We go through these existential crises to emerge more fully embodied and more clear on who we are and who we be in this world. But some things, when the world has been re-traumatized, especially as it is at the moment, right? We can all feel that something's wrong. You don't have to live in a country that's been bombed to know there's something freaking wrong. Even before those things were happening, we were all feeling that change. What is outside is within. What is within is outside, right? Those ripples of actions ripple through on the collective individual. What the individual does ripples out into the collective. And this is the truth. So anyone who tells you they've got it all together, afraid not. I mean, you may notice I don't have my usual energetic today, right? Because I had a bit of a sleepless night last night, stuff going on, you know, life, decisions, all of that boring stuff. It's not another existential crisis at the moment, certainly not another dark night of the soul, but there's still stuff going on, and we've been bombarded with stuff going on. So, you know, what I want to say is allow the shadow to arise. Ask yourself, is this who I really am? My essence, my core essence, these bits that are crumbling away, that have crashed, that I can no longer rely upon. Can they maybe be crumbling away for a reason? So I want to leave you with that question. Are they crumbling away for a reason? Because you can't rely on them, otherwise they wouldn't be crumbling. And actually, if they were truly you, they wouldn't be crumbling in the first place. I know how horrific it is. I know how scary it is. I know how it triggers other people who want you back to normal. That gets added into the soup and the mixture to make it all more confusing. But it may be that some open questions are required now. Do I need this? Is this who I am? Can I allow who I am to arise from within? Will those parts of me that arise know what else is possible? Can I more fully embody my soul? Is this actually a soul message to me that it's time to more fully embody who I am and what else is possible in all of this? Because we all have it. No one, no matter what they're saying, is totally healed. No one is or has got all the answers. What you are is a soul remembering. And that's really important for you to know. As the false identity crumbles, you remember more of who you truly are, because what remains will be the truth of you. So I sympathize. I empathize. I have compassion for what you're going through because I know, as I said, it's been more than once that I've been through these things. It never crossed my mind as going through these things as what else could be created from this, what else could come from this? Because when you're going through it, you feel like nothing can come from it. Feels like a death because it is a death. But it's a death of the false ego, so that the more balanced ego can at least have a voice. The soul can more fully embody and have a voice. And you make choice from there when clarity comes, because clarity will come. It will come. So ask those questions, my darling. Sending you love, as always.